David Sowers, welcome to the Entrepreneur Next Door. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for taking time to do this. Let's start, as we always do. Introduce yourself.
Ah, great. I appreciate you having me on. It's so kind to for you to allow me to be on here. Uh, my name's David Sowers, like you said, and I am the co-founder of Royal Restrooms, which is a luxury portable restroom trailer company.
Okay, perfect, short and sweet. And I haven't interviewed or had too many what I believe they call someone like you a Southern gentleman. Because you were so kind in the way you started the conversation. So thank you for that.
Well, yes, sir.
Um, so you've been in business for somewhere like 20 years, right? You started 2003, 2004. Um, I'm not going to take you through or ask you about the business itself because it's Royal Bathrooms, and we'll talk about this in a minute. Um, we don't need to joke around or talk about that. I think it's pretty fascinating. There's a lot behind this business that really intrigued me. So let's just jump right into this. You are at I believe it was a Shakespeare in the Park event in a beautiful place in Savannah. You bring your two daughters to the event. One was potty trained, one was younger, and then the potty trained one has to go to the bathroom and you go to where all of us would typically go. Uh, I'm in New York. We call them porta potties, but I've heard you refer to it as a porta john. Same idea, right? Tell me what
Absolutely.
happens when you take your daughter into one of those intimidating plastic solitary confinement enclosures.
Yeah, it was. I didn't even think anything about it. When it happened, it was like she had to go to the bathroom, and it's just like go over there, and then it's like, wow, that I did not. This didn't go through my head when I first went into that porta john. I wasn't thinking from her perspective. I was just, you've just always just gone in and gone out. And from a child's perspective, when I she looked down and was like, I can see poop, and it was
Duty.
yeah, and it was like, oh my gosh, don't touch it, and I'm grabbing her by the back of her head because she's like leaned over forward, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is, and you just kind of go into this panic mode. You kind of just like, what do I do? What's going on here? And so it was really kind of I wouldn't necessarily say traumatizing, but all of a sudden it was a panic situation because I didn't have like hand sanitizer like we do, that you carry all that around, and there's no bathrooms, there's no place to wash your hands, there's no lights, it's just a bucket, and it's like, okay, I don't want to lean up too close, I might touch the urinal. How do I do this? And I was holding her up in the air, and well, she ended up peeing on me because I didn't want her to touch the seat, and it was just it was such an aggravating experience that I left. I left with the two of them and went home and drew it out on a piece of paper. Measured my half bath downstairs at our house, and it's like, we can put this on a trailer. Boom. Sat it down, held on to it for a little while, and my business partner Robert Glisson, he was really the catalyst that jump started the business because I expressed to him, kind of what I had gone through and what I had talked about, and he was like, "Wow, let's do this. This is let's make this happen."
So I think you and Robert, when you were, what did you do at the time? So you had two kids, right? I believe you were a commercial loan
I was a
executive
commercial
or
lender.
banker.
Yes, sir.
So you had a
Commercial
full
real estate.
time job. You had a full time job in a bank. Then you go through this experience, and it's traumatic enough where, I mean, all good things, all brilliant inventions start from exactly that point, right? You have uh, a personal experience, and you say there's got to be something better than that, right?
Absolutely. It's and there really wasn't anything out there that was like this. It was considered what they did have on the market back then were very large semi trailers for like golf tournaments and major sporting events that were, but nothing from a small festival standpoint. And the price tag to rent those things was absolutely astronomical. That it was beyond reach for the normal person. And here we are in the
Hmm.
21st century, and we're still accepting to go to the bathrooms like the Romans did.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I've got some more questions for you, obviously, but at some point I wrote this note, and I said, uh, people don't usually have high expectations when it comes to going to a hot plastic container that smells bad. You just go in and out, and because you're there for different reasons, right? But so I want to backtrack to you drew it, you do like a napkin or whatever presentation. You talk to your friend, your partner, um, but you have your full-time job. So what happens next? I mean, if you're going to start a new business that is disrupting an existing industry that's pretty common, right? I mean, there's plenty of companies that do this, or
Oh
maybe
yes.
not too many, but they're all family owned. Um, you then have to. I don't know. Did you do a business plan? You have to go. You have to create and manufacture these in order to get them somewhere. You have to transport them back and forth. There are a lot of moving parts to putting something like this together. It's not an app on an iPhone, and it's not a storefront. So walk me through. You sit down, and by the way, so did you tell? I'm going to use the term in a funny way. The mother of your children that you're thinking of quitting your great banking job to do this. What'd she say?
Well, to answer that question, I did not quit my job. I guess it was maybe it was probably well into a year after we started uh,
Mm,
that
okay.
the bank actually asked me, "Do you want to be in the porta potty business or you want to be a banker?" And so I was pretty much asked to resign or give up the other business. And at that point, we had started to gain traction. So it was not a very difficult decision when I was asked to leave. My wife, on the other hand, completely broke down. She nearly crumbled in our backyard like, what have you done? You have sunk us. You have gone off this wild goose chase, rabbit hole. You don't have anything really mapped out. And as a banker, I should have had a good business plan, a solid path. But Robert and I we just kind of took it and ran with it. We didn't have really any true vision of massive expansion or even from a franchise standpoint. We looked at it as, hey, we're just going to build some trailers and see if they rent out. If not, we'll use it to write off, or we'll just have really fancy bathrooms and a failed experiment. Um, so it really, we didn't mean for it to take off. And actually, it was very difficult when we first got the trailers, and people are just like, "Why are you doing this? You're crazy. Nobody's going to want that." And it's like, why would you not? But it was very hard to get people to accept the idea for paying for a trailer, because I mean back then we were charging, we wanted $600-700 for a 2 or 3 stall restroom, and but because of the price to build these things were very expensive, and
What was that? So David, so quick question. Well, two questions. One, well, you're a banker. How'd you get the money to actually finance or support the manufacturing piece of it?
uh, I borrowed on a home equity line. I went and got a home equity line out of my mortgage. So I borrowed off of our
Yeah.
mortgage, and Robert did the same thing. And we basically put about $50,000 in each to start our little business. We already had vehicles to pull the trailers around. We already had cell phones. We already had computers. So the only real extra business expense that we had was some marketing material, putting up a website, and just insurance, things like that. Our business can really be operated as maybe kind of like a side hustle to begin with. That was kind of
Mm.
what we were doing. It was a little side hustle. It's kind of like the people that buy a rental property. They say they're property managers, or they own real estate, but really they only own one piece of one house or maybe two houses that they rent somewhere. So it's not really their business. It's just kind of a side hustle.
Yeah.
And
So
what
you
what Robert and I did was we kind of operated this as a small side hustle. We really didn't have a huge organizational plan or any aspirations to make it bigger than what it was. It was just something small, something that we, you know, made $1,000 a month on or something, rented it out. Um, and, and it wasn't until I guess people really took grasp of it, and they're like, you know, we want more of these. And next thing you know, we're renting out. We have to buy more trailers and buy more trailers, and then we had to go to the bank and create a business plan, and we had to borrow money, and it was we put the cart way up, well before the horse. Let's just say that.
So David, but before we kind of lost connection, you were talking about you were sort of running a side hustle. You were making a little bit of money, and it sounds like the word started to get out there that there was an alternative to the existing solutions. Um, and then that you sort of like, I don't want to call you the accidental royal bathroom guy, but it sounded like it took a life of its own, right?
It was, and it really was an accident. And we're fortunate being in Savannah, Georgia. We are a very much a tourist city. So all of a sudden, we're getting phone calls from like New York. We're getting calls from Texas. We're getting calls from California. We're getting calls from Las Vegas. And it's like, what in the world is going on? All of
Hmm.
these people are calling, and it was crazy. Here we are. We sent trailers out to Las Vegas. We sent them out to California. We sent them up to Flushing, New York. And we're all of a sudden having to hire drivers, and we're flying out to Las Vegas for, basically one day, and then flying back home so that we can get back to work. And it was really very fast paced, very uh, it we were definitely chasing our tails there at one point,
Hmm.
because it was um, Robert and I. We just had our 20th anniversary here in Savannah, and we were talking that about how funny it was because we had to turn our phones in when we went to the Masters, and we went up for the Masters in Augusta, Georgia, the golf tournament, and we had to turn
Yeah.
our phones in or turn them off, and we went to go check, and we have this call from Iowa, and they need two restroom trailers in Iowa the next day. And we left Augusta, drove down to Savannah, got in our cars, and went to Iowa. And
Hmm.
we went to Iowa in shorts, our little collared shirts, our loafers or whatever you want to call it, and it's snowing in Iowa. We didn't bring a jacket. We didn't bring any like winter clothes because it's hot here in Savannah. And here we are up there in Iowa, and we've got just we brought back tons of Iowa Hawkeyes gear because that's all that they had at the Walmart that we went that was, somewhat winterized that we could wear and that was comfortable. And it, it's things like that that we just, it was wild and kind of crazy. And, sure enough that we went and we were, you know, pulling long hours and getting up and going to work the next day like nothing had happened.
So I want to backtrack a little bit to um, talk a little bit of marketing because it's part of uh, obviously key factor in any startup business or existing business. You guys are sort of like have an idea, stumbling through it, word of mouth gets this thing going. But you did make one smart decisions when I was studying your business. You decided to niche in the event industry, right? So
Yes, sir.
you didn't want to you weren't running to everybody that needed a portable toilet and say buy from me. You focused on large scale events that absolutely needed that solution. Were you looking for higher end events or it didn't matter? It could be anything that needed that solution on the ground.
No, we primarily focus our stuff with not actually large events, but that mid-size event market, um, but also the wedding industry. We've really focused hard on the wedding industry because we knew that if you're going to a wedding, typically it's somewhat of a black tie event. So we pushed that market and kind of found that that was an easy threshold to jump into because they already wanted another solution. And with offering the Royal Restrooms, we gave them that opportunity, and brides and places that traditionally were not held, because we could do it outside and people could do the bigger tents. They could have this more of a destination site that was not just a hotel or a golf course
Yeah.
center. But when we focused on the events, we really went after more family style events because of our initial experiences with the creation of rural restrooms. We focused on the like children's book fair, or festivals like that that had parents that brought children you know that needed a baby changing station, that were concerned about those elements because uh, I'll be honest, a lot of times people, when they have to go to the bathroom or their children have to go to the bathroom, they will leave an event and never come back, because they're going to go to a restaurant or a hotel. They're going to leave the event to go somewhere else if they are kind of panicked about the bathroom. Um, you know, Going to the bathroom is still one of the most private things that we do, and a lot of people have anxiety or paranoia, or they're germaphobes. They worry about going to the bathroom. So when you create an environment that is pleasant for them, they're much more relaxed. They're much more at ease. They're more likely to spend more money. They're more likely to stay longer. And when you have a festival or an event, you put all of this effort into getting the people there. You want to make sure they stay there. And the bathrooms, having a nice bathroom there ensures that, or at least it ensures that piece of the puzzle.
So when you go and pitch this to an event organizer who are obviously concerned about their expenses and putting the event together, the marketing, the promotion, And here comes David and says, you can significantly enhance your customer experience for people that are participating by offering them a solution that's cleaner, hygienic, more pleasant than the I'll use the word the crap that they used to, right?
Right.
But then there is a cost differential. So, I mean, I would think that it will be a challenge, at least initially, to convince somebody who is the bean counter, the CFO, the person that controls the budgets. Uh, why do we have to spend? I don't know what the price point is compared to existing solution, but let's say why do we have to spend two, three times the amount of money on porta potties where people, like I said before, they expect to go into that plastic thing, go in and out, and go back in it. So how do you get beyond this objection?
Well, I think you kind of you almost answered your question with what you were thinking. You just who is your audience and what type of event are you having? If you've got a huge sporting event where there's a lot of drinking and a lot of that type of festival going on, you need you have to have porta potties because you have to have the in and out, you have to have the flow, you have to be able to maintain that. But what what kind of environment are you trying to create? Are you trying to really um, make this into you know a whole experience, where you're pulling people in from out of town to come to your festival? What Who is your end clientele? Is it the families? Is it women, or is it a party? You know, um, that makes a lot of shift in deciding, you know, the cost expenditure versus the
Mhm.
comfort of the clients, because certainly we cannot compete with the vast majority of porta johns on a large scale event, but we can enhance that VIP section. The people, the bigger ticket
Yeah.
items, your sponsors, your vendors, the people that are paying to be at this event even more. If I've, even if my general population out in a festival is using porta johns, the VIPs, the sponsors, the vendors that are paying me to be at this festival, um, you need to provide them something more. You need to give them something more. And I think a lot of times it goes right back down to it is uh, ask yourself the question of, if you've got to go to the bathroom, where do you want to go? What do you want to go into?
Mhm.
And if I'm working an event, or I'm paying a lot of money and I'm bringing clientele, if I paid $5,000 to be this event sponsor and I've got this ticketed item, and it's a catered meal in a tent, how exactly does a porta potty fit into that environment? Because I don't want to
Mhm.
bring you know somebody there or my clients there and that's provided. I want something that completes the entire setting, that is that is befitting of the event that I'm trying to promote. and
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 and we and so sorry for interrupting, Dave. So we live in a Google reviews, Yelp reviews universe where people are not shy about sharing their experiences. I'm going to guess that the feedback back to the organizers from the people that came in, and again, I think the best way to impress customers is to provide them with something that's so exceptionally uh, fulfilling and pleasant when they didn't expect it, right? So I don't think they promoted the event by saying, "Oh, by the way, when you have to go to the bathroom, there's a royal porta potty for you." But when they got there, the feedback that the organizer would get, and I think you did a great job explaining, at least to me, the brilliance behind your strategy, right? The organizers, the vendors, the guests that come in, the VIPs. Yeah, you're now enhancing the entire event in a way that's very, very personal. And I'm sure they've heard a lot of feedback. Wow, that bathroom thing was amazing, right? We didn't expect that.
Right, and that's typically the feedback. You know, from our perspective, but from an event perspective, or from a coordinator's perspective, you know, everybody is going to go to the bathroom at your event. Everybody is not going to see every item that you've paid a ton of detail to. You know, it's just like not everybody is going to really admire the ice sculpture or eat the shrimp cocktail, but they are going to all go to the bathroom. You know, so the second thing is most people ask where, you know, where's the bathroom, and they'll either come back and be like, did you see the bathroom? Wow. You know, and how many people take pictures of the bathroom is crazy, but the other people will ask other people, did you go to the bathroom? Have you been to the bathroom? You know, what kind of bathroom is it? uh, and a nice bathroom, an exceptional bathroom, everybody's going to say that it was exceptional. If it was horrible, they're going to also say it was horrible. If it was just plain, they're just not going to talk about it. But you either get rave reviews or a horrible review,
So,
and that is something that people talk about. They just talk about it.
so David, help me and my audience. I want to visualize where we say royal bathroom, right? Um, the visual image that I have is the one that I've always gone to, right? The porta potties where there's a latch that says green or red, and you all and honestly, I always hold my breath when I go in there. I don't care how new it is. And you walk in, and there's a thing, there's a hall, and you can see all the deposits there, and that's it. So, describe how this is different? You said it's on a trailer. Is it higher up, and there you have to go up the stairs? So, try and visualize what makes this royal.
Um, Absolutely. So when it's on a trailer, we have the holding tank under the trailer. So you do have to walk up some steps. And most of them have a nice platform or a larger step so that you can step down onto, you know, to keep your to balance, and it's safely designed, I guess, for convenience. But when you walk in, yes, it's like going into a regular bathroom at your home or a restaurant. When you walk in, you have a porcelain sink, you have Corian type countertops, you have mirrors in there, you have LED lighting, you have a real flushing toilet, but it's also climate controlled, heated and cooled. It also has some of them have radios in them as well, but you have some stylish decor from the walls and pictures. But you're able to most, you know, the most important thing is you're able to go to the bathroom in in a little bit of space and a little bit of privacy, and you can wash your hands. You can make sure that you don't have anything on your face. You can wipe, you know, dry your hands, and it's a normal, I guess, it's the same
Mm.
experience as the one that you would have at your house.
Wow, that's that's incredible. I mean, I didn't realize it was a full functioning restroom that's actually in the field. And when you go in, it's not intimidating, and it's pleasant.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's you know, with it being climate controlled, with the real flushing toilet, with washing your sinks, you know, you don't feel dirty when you've come out, or you don't feel cringy, or that you need to do something because uh, you know, you've gone to the restroom like you should.
Mhm. So um, you have a good business going. It's sort of growing organically because people are served in a way that they didn't expect to be served. You enhance the experience of all these events at another dimension of something that allows the event itself to be at a much higher level. Uh, and then you get a nasty letter from the Attorney General of Georgia
I
that
actually, yes,
says,
it wasn't Georgia. It was, I think it was Maryland.
"Oh, okay,
Uh, it was Maryland. We had done an event at I think it was the governor's mansion, or it was some state representative or something up there, and the attorney general from Maryland was there, and he wrote us and told us that we were a franchise and not we could not be selling or promoting a business without a franchise. So we were forced into becoming a franchise back in 2007 or 2008.
but
Uh,
prior to it, you were licensing in different
yes,
territories so people can use your name and they told you no, that doesn't work. You're a franchise,
that's correct. Because we were
which is
offering, the trailer on the back had said business opportunities and our phone number.
got it. So now you are thrown into probably a roller coaster of legal stuff because franchising is very tightly controlled.
Yes,
Um, the only way I know is because I was a franchise owner once, long time ago, and I had a client who was a franchisor, sorry. And so it's pretty complicated. It's very tightly regulated because you're telling someone, I have a great business idea for you. Here's the financial disclosure document. I think that's what's called an FDD. Should tell you all about the business, give you earning opportunities, although I am not going to commit to anything, and give me $50,000 and here's your territory. Off you go. Right? It's pretty complicated stuff.
it it it's very complicated. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming, and when Robert and I started, we were selling licenses because there were no franchise attorneys in Savannah. Everything was out of state in the bigger cities in either DC or Atlanta or Chicago or New York. So it was very difficult in the beginning, and even now it's like, goodness gracious, we have to, there's so much to do that it's a whole nother full-time job just to manage that side of the business. And it's very expensive, and just the different filing fees and the different states, and it's just sometimes it gets overwhelming, and it's hard to stay in control of that. But the the crazy thing about franchising is, I think a lot of franchise people that go and buy franchises, they assume that they're kind of just buying a success, and they're not. We're selling what we know how to do to make you a success. We're not selling a success. We're selling the tools to make you a success. And a lot of people that I've spoken with, they buy a franchise and they don't really do anything. They expect because they bought into something that it's just going to happen. And like with any business, you have to put the time into it. You have to work the business. You have to earn what you get back. There's only so much that a franchisor can do, but yet so many people think they deserve what, I guess they have that expectation of success because they think that they deserve it because they bought it. And you have to work it and you have to earn it before you can deserve it.
Right. I
And
mean, all you're buying a we can call it a business in a box. You're buying a business in a certain niche, industry, whatever you want to call it, with a manual of what you should do based on your experience of how to make this a success. But like you said, it doesn't happen because you bought the franchise. I remember when I finished my franchise training and came home, um, I sat around in my brand new office and looked around and got scared shitless. I said, wait a minute. I got to make this work. I got the manuals. I got everything I need. The tools were there. I had a website. By the time I got back home, I already had my own website. But then it's not handed to you, right? You have, it's your business. The advantage is you're not going to waste time and money, mostly time, trying to, through trial and error, try to figure something out. You've given them the recipe, right? You're going to follow the recipe. Maybe the first time the dish is going to come out okay. Over time, maybe you improve it and it's going to be okay. But you're right. Both as a franchisee and with one of my clients who was in a recruitment business, um, it's complicated because so you're going now from serving event producers
Hmm.
as a royal restroom guy to a completely different business where now you have customers who have invested and are calling you all the time and telling you, I don't get any leads. Things are quiet. The phone's not ringing. And you tell them, well, get out there. Right? I gave you the manual of how to do marketing to go out and sell and promote. And right. It's a completely different dynamic.
Yeah, it's it. We do. I like to think from our perspective, and you have a franchisee's perspective, and you have a franchisor's perspective. And at the beginning, everybody's like, "Oh, love you, everything's wonderful, and everything's great," and you know, you still have that. We're very much a family run business. We operate as a family. We're not hardcore strict on anything. We want you to be, this is your business. We want you to be successful. We want you to run it. We're not going to micromanage you. That's not what we want to do. We're all adults, we're all entrepreneurs, we're all leaders. You know, if you know, so you've got a bunch of alpha people, put together, and I mean, you're going to butt heads. So you want them to do that. You want them to run their business the way that they want to run it, as long as it doesn't mess up anything with any of the other offices or tarnish our name in somehow. You
Hmm.
and what we preach is, hey, this is what works in this territory. This is what works from our experience. Whatever you can do to enhance that or tell us differently, that's what we're here to do. We're here to promote it. Um, but one of the things that's, we have a tremendous web presence, and we were very happy about our results as far as advertising and stuff. We charge a 6% on gross royalties fee. That's what we get in. But out of that, we put 2% back into direct local marketing. So we it, we pay for an additional 2% of their gross royalties in each one of the different markets. And at the conference, we were a lot of people were just like, "Oh, I thought you just paid for all the marketing." And this is not everybody. This is just a couple people. And we're like, "Well, we promote some marketing, but we don't do all of your marketing." And I'm like, "You you grossed $1 million last year. What do you mean you didn't put any more money into any marketing anywhere else? Like,
Hmm.
marketing should be, 15 to 18% of what you do. We only paid 2% in. I think you did pretty daggum awesome if you grossed, you know, uh, 2 million. I mean, if you grossed $1 million and uh, we only spent $20,000 on advertising, I think we did a hell of a job. you know,
You did.
um,
Yeah.
but we each office has got to make sure that they do their part. Each business owner's got to make sure they do their own part. One of the things that we do is in each one of our franchises, we make every office do $25,000 of in-kind donations to nonprofits and community events, community involvement, because community, I mean, that is such a huge enhancement of in social impact within our community. I mean, those are the people that support us and has made it possible for us to be here. So we want to make sure that we give back to the community and be actively involved, because a lot of these nonprofits can't afford the facilities that we have, and so we want to make sure that we're in there to be a part of the community, and
Mhm.
it's really a great feeling overall. Um, my business partner Robert and even Kim across the street at our local office, we added up. We've done in our 20 years of business in the Savannah local area, we've done, I think it was close to or either over $2.5 million of in-kind donations since we first started, and that's a huge impact to a lot of different organizations, not just one organization that we really sponsored and cook up, but, you know, we help out some 60 different organizations, nonprofits every year, 60 to or more in the Savannah community. And
and
that's
and
just
good
a
and
big
and
impact and a good feeling.
and good for you for being genuine about your desire to support your community. A lot of I'm not going to use the word a lot because it's not quantitative, but there are many franchisees or franchise companies that do that, but from a selfish perspective, they only support organizations where the in-kind comes back to them through additional business. You're different. You're just saying, look, I'm part of a community, and if I'm doing well, I want other organizations within our community. And if you preach that to your franchisees, and they understand the power of not just being a business in a community, but actually being part of the community by
Mhm.
actually actively supporting it, you can't measure that from a business perspective, right? You just can't. It's for me, it's like you should go into business not because you want to make money, but because you want to do something good. You want to make an impact. You want to change lives. So yes, you change lives by giving people a much higher experience, a better experience when they go to the bathroom and events, of course. But that's not the point. The point is what I've always believed in, that the successful companies that I was lucky to be part of and coach and know of are the ones where the leaders and the owners share the wealth. They share the wealth first with the employees. To me, that's my pet peeve. Your first is with the employees, and then you go outside and you do everything else. Because without your team, you can't do this on your own, right? People need to be to feel that they're part of the business. When you do well, they do well. Okay, great. There's money left over. Let's support the community that we live in. So David, um, your wife collapsed on the lawn when you told her you quit your job. How's she doing now?
well, well, that I well, let's just say my wife, my first wife, that when we started this, we divorced, but she is doing wonderful. We have two
Hmm.
beautiful girls, Stella and Cece. Stella's 24 now, and Cece is about to be 21. Um, but I remarried a few years ago to my wife Christy now, but you know Charlotte was, she was a trooper. She stood behind me. She was, uh, you know, we weathered the storm. We weathered the storm together. It was a trying time. It's difficult to start a business, be, you know, it's difficult to make that transition period. It's tough. I traveled a lot. Uh, I, I I lost a lot of family time trying to make sure that my business was successful.
Hmm.
Um, and that's I'm sure that
And
I am
you,
not so different from a lot of other people that may have made some wrong sacrifices when they shouldn't. But you don't know you're doing that until it's too late.
well, it's not wrong because that's part of the process. You can't build a business by sitting at home. You have to go out there and you have to sell and you have to market and you have to make connections and you have to travel. And it's painful. I've traveled my entire career internationally, but I've made a rule to myself early on and I stuck to it that I would never, ever miss any important event in my family's life. So there will be my two kids and my wife. Concert, soccer game, anything. I would never miss it because of work. And that's what I said to my employers. I said, I will work my ass off for you, but I'm not missing my son's soccer game or his concert or my daughter's dance recital or my wife's birthday. Not doing it. Everything else is open, but this is not. And I managed to do this. I rearranged travel around events. I remember there was one huge, one of the largest medical shows in the world takes place in Germany. And for whatever reason, they schedule it many years just when Thanksgiving is for us. And I said, and I was a key executive in the company. I said, I'm not going. I refuse. It's the biggest, one of the biggest events in the world. Uh, Not going. So the years that it didn't conflict, that we have to go. The years that it got, I refused to go. Don't want to do it. Not everybody can do it, and yes, you sacrifice. But as you point out, you need a strong partner behind you to go through the process of building the company, to be able to come home and sit on the couch with your wife with a glass of wine and just
Mm-hmm.
enjoy that moment and not talk about business because it's grueling and it's a roller coaster ride. You need that peace of mind and tranquility that comes from knowing that you have somebody that's supportive. So that's super important. I'm not talking about Robert as your partner. That's different. You walk through the door, it's the family and that, and you try not to bring it home. Um,
And
so, David, I want to go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say it's touch on man, kudos to you for being able to keep that structure in your life that and because I have felt very guilty for a lot of things. I missed my daughter Stella's birthday for about 6 years in a row because I had to go to this one event because this one event pretty much paid for their school for the next year.
Mm,
And I had to
yeah,
make sure that it was a hit. And I always felt so guilty. The thing is, she'll still bring it up to this day now. And it's like, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I didn't, I thought that that was more important at the time. And I mean, I was wrong. I
yeah.
was wrong.
Yeah,
Um,
we do the best we can as parents. I was able to schedule my time because of my position in the company, so I was somewhat lucky. But this is an exceptional story. The stories are more like yours, of particularly of super successful entrepreneurs who completely missed their kids' entire 18 years they weren't home, and then I don't care what amount of money in the universe is going to make up looking at it from the kid's perspective, not from our perspective, right? We don't understand that. Daddy wasn't home. It's painful. And so when like you, I got divorced, and the only thing that I could do to this day is apologize to my kids for putting them through a divorce. I didn't want it. It happened,
yes.
and at least in my case, because I came from a very happy, loving home, I looked at them and I said, I don't know how you feel. My parents were not divorced. I have no clue what you're
Yes.
going through. And the only thing I can say is I'm sorry. We try to do the best we can to no fault of your own. Things
Yeah.
happen. We move on. But that's a podcast for another day. So David, I want to,
Oh no, I was going to
yeah,
say that you know what you said about you don't know how they feel. I can reiterate that. I didn't know how they felt, but my divorce, it made me a better father. I because
mm,
I had taken for granted what I had before, and um, after the divorce, I became a much more. I became a better father. I was there for them. I understood them. You know, I changed my entire life for them
yeah,
to make up for it.
good,
I guess.
good for them, and of course for you. So David, I'm going to end with I'm going to ask you a tough question. It's not tough because it's tough, but because you probably have a bunch of answers. But pick one, please. One lesson you learned in your entrepreneurial journey that you feel is the most impactful for people who are watching and listening to your story. If I'm somebody who's either considers being a franchisee or start a business, or somebody already in business, what is one lesson that you think is the most you were most impacted by?
I think it would be taking the chance, taking following your dream. So many people, they hold themselves back because of the unknown. The grass is not necessarily always greener on the other side, but you don't know until you tried it. And I think so many people, and myself included, we don't like change. We fight the change, even when we know we want to do it. We come up with excuses to not do it. And I think the thing is, you have to go for it, and you have to step off that cliff, and you have to push forward. You have to do the uncomfortable to be comfortable again. You have to drive through that process to get to where you want to be, even though every bone in your body is telling you not to do it. You have to take that chance, and you have to take that leap of faith. And you know it all starts when you truly believe in yourself. Once you believe in yourself, other people
Mhm.
will pick up that vibe, and they will support you. They have your back. They will buy into it. And I think that is one thing that holds a lot of people back. And it's you know every successful person that you talk to, or business persons you talk to, they've taken that leap, and they've had the support behind them.
Yeah, yeah, and so you as you're saying, taking the leap is you have to take a risk if you want to get somewhere in life, and beyond that, when you take the risk, you have to recognize no one's going to do the work for you. And that's kind of like a message for your franchisees, right? It's a message for everybody who's a business owner, but it's a message for especially for franchisees who are investing and expect, oh, so things are going to happen. No, no one is going to do the hard work for you. You take the risk, you invest, you quit your job, you borrow, do whatever you have to do. Um, and unfortunately, we live in a universe 2024 with a whole generation of kids who were born into the internet that expect things to happen because you're just gonna
Immediately.
press buttons on a keyboard or play with your thumbs and things are gonna happen. And uh, let's have to understand. There's one thing that I've seen in my 40 years in business, that there are no shortcuts and there are no hacks and there are no formulas, and there's absolutely no replacement for hard work. If you want something to happen, you work towards it, and you're going to fall and you're going to trip. You watch a baby learn how to walk, you'll see them take two steps and they fall and they get up. This is how you get somewhere, and no one's going to do it for you, right, David?
Absolutely. You have to put in the work. You have to. It's okay to fail. You know, just means you try again.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, David, this has been fascinating. There were no jokes about the royal, you know what? This was actually a great conversation from an entrepreneur standpoint. I will put in my show notes how people can find you and get in touch with you if anybody's interested in the franchise or they know somebody that runs events and could use it. Thank you again for taking time to do this. It was great.
I appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you again. And again, thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.